take a deep breath, take the higher road. That's what they always say, as if they know the way. They won't take it from me. But don't ever doubt yourself, 'cause life ain't just a dream. You make your own, so kick and scream. The people will act with a never-ending force. You never had the chance, so what you waiting for? The day has come, my friend, 'cause this is war. It's time and this is war.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Nurses Out Loud Q&A with the nurses. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton, and I am joined today by Nurse Jodi. Together, we're here to answer your burning questions, address your comments, and provide the support you need on your healthcare journey. We've heard you loud and clear. You wanted more interactivity, more engagement, and we are here to deliver. We want to hear your stories, your challenges, and help you to find the solutions you're looking for. This is your chance to be a part of the conversation. Each episode, we feature your questions and comments, tackling the topics that matter most to you. From career advice to self-care tips, we are here to empower and uplift our community. So send us your questions, share your experiences, and let us know what you want us to discuss. We are here to create a space where we can all learn, grow, and thrive. Remember, this just is not about us sharing our knowledge. We want to hear from you. Your voice matters and your experiences are valuable. So please send in those emails to nurses@americaoutloud.com. We will be featuring these questions and comments every Friday on this special Q&A episode with the nurses. We encourage all of you to engage in the battle and find your voice in this fight. But until you are able to do that, we will continue to be that voice for you. Jodi, welcome on.
What's up, girl?
I'm telling you, what a day. What a day. Did you work last night?
Oh, my word. Yes, I did. I worked, a couple hours. I don't know. I go back to what I learned in nursing school on sleep cycles. And I remember that a nurse practitioner told me, because I used to work night shift, get off of work and then go straight to nursing school and be there until like 1 p.m. and then sometimes have to do the same thing over again. And she told me to find periods of 90 minutes. She said, if you know that you're not going to have sleep, at least carve out 90 minutes and get one sleep cycle in. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of just been something I've been doing for years now. It's like, okay, where do I have 90 minutes? I have 90 minutes. I can keep moving on,
So funny because sometimes when I do take these little cat naps, because I think night shift really ruins you. After you do it for so long, it really screws up your sleep cycle. And I don't know if you ever really fully recover from years on night shift, because I only sleep on average about 3 to 4 hours. That's a good night's sleep for me, is 3 to 4 consistent hours. But like I will fall asleep for 10 minutes and I'll sometimes I'll feel really refreshed. And I look at my clock, I'm like, oh, it's only been 10 minutes.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because before I was a nurse, I, bartended, and I bartended. It was night shift, 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. And I started training myself in my 20s to at least get 20 minutes. And now, or, not even just now, but for years, I remember my kids would say, because I would always take a nap right before I would go in. So I would close my eyes around 6 and I would say to them, wake me up in 20 minutes, wake me up in 20 minutes. Yeah. And those were just the most refreshing sleeps. And I actually dream. So I feel you on that, 20 minutes, little cat naps, even at work, there's times where I'm like, I'm going to go take a break. And I go and I close, set an alarm for 20 minutes. and I wake up and I'm refreshed. And they're like, how do you do that? And I said, I don't know, but it's very refreshing. So my kids used to say that you're like a dog. And I go, what do you mean? And they said, you say you're going to go to sleep, and the next thing I know, you're out.
Yep.
And so, yep, 20 minutes. And if I need a little bit more energy, I reach for the 90-minute sleep cycles.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like as nurses, when we're providing education for our patients on the importance of like getting 8 consecutive hours of sleep every night, and all of the things that we educate on for self-care, and as nurses, we hardly ever are able to adhere to such schedules of 8 hours of sleep. I can't tell you the last time I got 8 hours of consecutive sleep. It was probably like they knocked me out for a surgery or something. Literally, I mean, a good night's sleep for me is literally 3 to 4 hours. And it's funny because anything more than that, like if I hit the 5 or 6 hour mark, I don't wake up well. And I just feel really draggy all day long. Like I just feel like I'm not as productive. So
are you taking naps during the day then, on a regular 20-minute naps?
It depends. Sometimes I do. In the middle of the day, especially now, where my schedule, it has so much more flexibility in it. Yeah, sometimes if I just start to get that feeling like, okay, my eyes are getting a little heavy, maybe I'll just lie down for a few minutes, and I'll get like 20 minutes in. I'll literally think I slept for 5 hours, and I'm like, oh, it's the clock literally went by 10 minutes. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, they say, that you should be getting, 6 to 8 hours. But 7 to 9 is ideal. And I normally I'll sleep like 7.5 hours. Like, for example, even just sleeping 3 hours today, I will go to bed. Like I'll flip really quick back to night shift.
Yeah.
So I'll be sleeping, 8, 9 o'clock, and then I wake up at like 5 in the morning. So I'm a sleeper, and it's nice, being older. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate that if you don't have like small children, it's really not, it's a nice thing that you can like start sleeping as a teenager sometimes. And they also do say, that your body will try to catch up on sleep weekly. Yeah. So if, there's that one day where you're like, oh, I really slept, that's your body catching up for what it needs. So lean into that. Don't ever feel guilty. And just, just know that like if you have a rough week, that sometimes, once a week you'll just sleep, and never feel guilty about that. Just lean into it.
I think that's the key, is like really listening to your body. Like when your body is telling you, slow down, get this right. A lot of times we just kind of ignore and we keep pushing on. But sometimes we need to take that day to just reset, recharge, and we're going to be more productive in the long run. But I know that there have been studies done that have shown that night shift will shave off like a good 5 years of your life.
Yeah, that's what they say. I mean, I've even heard upwards of 10 years.
Yeah, 5 to 10.
So, yeah, I mean, lucky for me now, I have other work that I do. And so, people ask me at work all the time, they're like, so what else do you do? And I said, oh, I'm a patient advocate. And they said, well, how do you do that? Who do you work for? And I said, myself. And they said, well, how did you get to do that? And I said, well, I've kind of made a little name for myself over the last few years.
Isn't it always an interesting conversation? I'm just like, do I really want to go into this? I feel you.
No, girl, my anonymity at work means everything to me. I don't tell anybody I have a radio show. I don't say I have a membership community, like nothing.
Like, and let's talk about this a little bit, Jodi, because you are back to work. I mean, and you are a federal nurse whistleblower. Now, as a federal nurse whistleblower, do you have protections, correct? That you should be able to they can't not hire you because of your whistleblower status. Is that right? Because you are federally protected?
No, actually. Okay. So my case, once I blew the whistle, it took them 15 months to fire me. Okay.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got base pay for 15 months while they investigated me. They were actually hoping, I believe, that the State Board of Nursing would take away my license for what I did. And, because I had a lot of complaints. I believe it was 18 complaints against my license when my video went viral. And a large majority of those complaints, I could tell that they were from people that I worked with, just based on what they said, because they were pissed that they were recorded. And that's where I underwent an ethics evaluation, and the ethicist said, no, she upheld her oath, and like he judged me based on the principles of nursing. And so once they, in order for my case to kind of move forward in the court, they had to fire me, either bring me back to work and then I have no case, or fire me. Well, they wound up firing me in December of 22. But in March of 22, my whole proceedings with the Arizona State Board of Nursing were done, and my license was free and clear. So I could have went back to work at that point if I wanted to, not my federal job, because they were, keeping me on investigative leave, but I could have went to another system, right? So my federal case, I'm actually getting ready to wrap that up, Kimberly, and the listeners. Yeah, they wanted to settle with me, and I refused to settle because part of my case is not only wrongful termination, but it's based on my quote unquote non-frivolous allegations. So I'm alleging to them that they had gross mismanagement of funds, that they were a specific danger to public health, they were a specific danger to public safety, and that there was waste, fraud, and abuse. So having said that, this is taken into account everything, the COVID numbers, right? Raising the COVID numbers on the floor. This is the use of remdesivir, which was experimental, and silencing alternative therapies like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. The removal of the advocate from the bedside, and how they, went about doing all of that. So that my case is twofold. My case is, to get the judge to side with me that the only reason they fired me was because I blew the whistle, number one. And number two, my allegations were not frivolous, as evidenced by everything we're seeing coming out in the media. So if this goes forward and the judge rules on my behalf, this will open up the doors for, many lawsuits to come forward. And, that's my hope. My hope has always been for the, not just the American people, but people worldwide to see what our government did and how they did it. And so, saying I'm following orders is never an excuse. And any medical professionals or anybody that's in any profession that have ethics behind it, like journalism and, the medical community, your ethics should be what guides you in your practice, not a policy or protocol that takes place overnight.
The reason I asked that, I was starting to, I've been out of work now since I resigned from my position back in I think it was January 15th of 2022. Right. So I've been doing, building Remnant and taking care of Nurse Freedom Network and doing all of those things and traveling around the country and speaking out at conferences and doing what I can to get Remnant up and running. But I'm coming to, a point where I'm going to have to get back to work.
Yeah.
There are certain things I won't do. I don't want to go back into an ICU setting because there's PTSD. It's very real. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It'll be very, very difficult for me to go back into that kind of setting. But I made my peace with going into maybe like a same day surgery type of a position, so something like that outside of the ICU or a progressive care unit or even the ER, because I have never had an interest in the ER. But I've been having a lot of difficulty. I've been applying for jobs and I've been having a lot of difficulty, which leads me to think that I have been blacklisted and blackballed by the medical community.
Well, and yeah, if you're not getting hits on your resume that's sent out there with decades of experience, something is going on. Now, for me, there was a physician that was working. And so the place that I work at is a community hospital, a micro hospital is what many people refer to them as. It's, where they have just a few inpatient beds. There's no specialties that are there. We take care of basics like wound care. If somebody needs, 24-hour IV therapy, or if we're just, trying to get their oxygen levels up, like, easy type patients, not very involved.
Right.
So he recommended me. I had a physician that I used to work with reach out to me and say, "What are you doing now?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing the radio show. I have my membership community. Actually, I don't know what I'm doing and I need money." I mean, I didn't tell him that, but that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because,
Absolutely.
this is a labor for love, guys. You
Right.
listening to us nurses, we don't get paid for this, right?
Yeah, we do not get paid for this. That's a nice reminder. We don't get paid.
Right.
We're very, as entertaining as we are,
Exactly.
we are not receiving a paycheck for this.
No.
I find it so interesting because not only listen, I have I have 28 years of experience. And it's been interesting. I've applied for these different positions, and initially, I've gotten sometimes I don't get any bites at all, which is interesting, and then sometimes I will, and they're initially very impressed. I've had telephone interviews, and they've been so excited, and then they go over all of my qualifications, and like, we're going to get back to you, and probably the next day, but it could even be as soon as today because we really think you're a great fit, and then I'm ghosted. I am ghosted constantly. So I am assuming that they are doing, so I know everybody checks social media for candidates now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty all over social media. I think I'm a walking social media violation, more than likely. But I actually got an email back from one of the companies that said, I'm going to see if I can pull it up and read it to you, because I actually responded back to it because I was just really taken aback by it. Because it's one thing to get an email back that says, "Hey, we've decided to go with someone else." But this one actually said, hold on one second. It says, like to take this opportunity. Thank you for taking the time to apply. While we were initially very impressed with your qualifications, we were faced with a difficult decision. And I regret to inform you that at this time, we will not be moving forward with your application. It did not proceed further due to the screening process. So I responded back and I said, "Well, thank you for letting me know, but out of curiosity, was there something specific found during the screening that would preclude me from consideration?" So I've never encountered this issue before. I mean, again, in 28 years, I have an unencumbered nursing license. I have never faced a disciplinary action of any kind. I don't have any complaints against my license, knock on wood. Even as vocal as I have been, I have no complaints against my license. I have qualifications, nearly 28 years of experience in healthcare. I have a very strong work ethic. And I said, one would think I would be an ideal candidate. And I said, I would appreciate any feedback that you could provide, because I'm just confused by this situation. I never heard back. And again, I've been ghosted by several of these other companies that were initially very impressed, and they couldn't wait to talk to me, and they loved my resume and all of that. And then, just nothing. I hear nothing back from them. And it's very unusual because prior to me speaking out, I've never applied for a job that I was not offered. Never.
Yeah, exactly. Especially
shortage of nurses.
Right. And then with you and your interviewing skills, I mean, right away, I could see where they'd be like, oh my gosh, we want to offer you the job. Just wait for an offer letter.
Right.
You know, if there's anybody out there listening that is in HR, specifically HR at hospitals, let us know, what is that screening process? Do you guys have it to where you do a Google search of your candidate? And then whatever factors, like, oh, if they're politically driven or whatever, because that would be very interesting to know. I would love to know, like, yeah, specifically, what is your screening process? If my license passes a background check, and you call up some of my employers and, you know, they say, you know, give me rave reviews, what more is there?
Yeah, I have incredible references. I mean, I have incredible references, Jodi. So I'm trying to, I guess what I was trying to accomplish with this is I'm trying to get somebody to put something in writing saying that they're not giving me this job due to my stance on the vaccine narrative or whatever. Because I wonder, and maybe there's some attorneys out there that could speak to this. Is that actionable? Is that a violation of my First Amendment rights? What I express on my social media page, or if I speak out against the COVID narrative, that really has no bearing on my nursing skills. I mean, in everything that I've done from an ethical standpoint and to protect patients. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like that, you know, is there something actionable here?
I mean, I think short of an admission, you know, it would be really hard. Like, if they
I don't
just
think
didn't
anybody's
respond.
going to. Yeah, they're never going to respond and put it in writing. I just thought it was funny that they even said anything about a screening process versus just saying, hey, we went with another candidate, you know?
Right, right.
And if they had done that, I would have questioned. I'm like, okay, you know, better luck next time. But it specifically said that they were initially very impressed with my qualifications, and then, you know, they just that I didn't pass the screening process. But again, I have an unencumbered nursing license and zero complaints and no disciplinary actions. I mean, nothing. I don't have so much as a write up on, you know, from any of my employers. Nothing. So
Yeah.
I'm very curious. And if there is anybody out there like in HR, like maybe with HCA, maybe you could check and see, you know, is Kimberly Overton blackballed by the year? Is there like a big,
There you go.
do not hire. Yeah, shoot me an email. I just love to know. And, you know, I'll keep your anonymity.
Yeah. So that would be nurses@americaoutloud.com.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just, you know, out of sheer curiosity. I would like to know that, because I don't, and the reason I asked you about your specific case where it is federal is I didn't know if you had protections in place that where they couldn't discriminate against you because of that, because I was not in a situation where it was like, I didn't have a federal employee or anything like that. So I didn't know.
Right now, no, I don't. You know, once this case goes forward, you know, after our hearing or trial, which a lot of people, you know, kind of relate to, except our trial is just in front of the federal judge. So it's not, you know, advertised. We're not going to be able to watch it or listen to it, although I wish to God that could be the case. But yeah, no, I don't have any federal protections. It's my license that is free and clear. And, you know, I can work anywhere. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And then, like I said, you know, I find it interesting. I find it very telling. Because I do have very strong work ethic and all of these things. I went an entire decade where I didn't even call out for a shift or call out for any, you know what I mean? I mean, and this is all well documented in my work history. And I, again, have incredible references. And I just find it very frustrating. And, you know, I would do it all over again.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. You know, there's, you know, talk about being able to like sleep peacefully. Yeah. You know, I mean, again, you know, I always think like God got me, you know, that repeats over and over in my head, you know, so many of his promises. And it's like, okay, you know, the fact that I am working in an ER again, you know, that's only because of God, because I wasn't even searching that out, you know, but I can't tell you like how happy I am to be back, you know. Yeah. Like even last night, the doc said, "Are you charged?" And I said, "No." And he's like, he goes, "You don't want to be charged?" And I said, this is my fun job.
Right.
I said,
exactly.
I love coming to work and taking care of people and being in this environment and going home. I said, no, I'm not charged.
I never wanted to be charged. Like I never wanted, they tried to make me charge nurse. I can't even tell you how many times. And I was like, no, I don't want the extra dollar for all, I mean, $1 extra an hour for all of those extra, you know, exactly what I'm talking about. All the extra responsibilities that you have to take on. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm absolutely fine. Because I had no aspirations for like hospital administration or leadership. Like I knew very early on in my career that I was never going to want to go that track. You know, I didn't want to take a leadership track and be a hospital administrator because I see what happened. And I'm not going to say that about every one of them, but the large majority of nurses that get up to administration, we see how that ends up, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But what a thought that just came to my mind for you and for me is looking at the nursing schools in the area and being a clinical instructor. Like you would love that.
Oh, I would absolutely love it. I don't think they'll have us, Jodi, because of the whole vaccine thing and it's ridiculous. There's still most of them are still requiring the clinical sites. It's not the nursing school. You know how they pass the buck all the time. The nursing school said, well, we don't require it, but the clinical site requires it. And then the hospitals will say, well, we give exemptions to our employees, but because you're not an employee, as you're just a student, we have no relationship with you, then we can therefore not give you an exemption. So there's a lot of back and forth there. So it makes it really difficult. And to the point where I don't know, I think I would really love it and thrive in a position like that, but I think it'd be so much trouble.
Well, I think, it's interesting you say that because recently I had a patient and her mom come in and, I always like to put little truths and stuff and feel out my people and let them know that like it's a safe space for them to talk to me and be honest with how they feel. And so long story short, I did that with this patient and she was there with me for like 6 hours. And the mom wound up telling me that she is one of the top people at a university in my area and invited me to apply and put her name down on the resume to be a clinical instructor and even an instructor for a block of nursing. And I said, really? And she said, oh, absolutely. She totally agreed with me. And that's the thing, guys, there's more of us than there are them.
Yep.
And when you have one of us in a position of authority and leadership like that, then we are going to bring others in. So don't ever think that like everybody is agreeing with this like woke kind of agenda because they don't. There's more of us than them.
Well, you know what? I have, I have really big aspirations and I would love and thrive as a clinical instructor, but I just want to open my own damn nursing school. Can I say damn? Sorry, Malcolm.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I sit there and think I have no idea, if I win, what the dollar amount will be. I have no idea. I've never talked to my attorney about it. We don't discuss that because it's all been very mission driven. But wouldn't that be something, Kimberly, if I was awarded something where we can say, you know what, we're going to start our own school. We're going to start our own accreditation.
Absolutely. It's 100% on my to-do list. I don't think it's going to happen in 2024, but it is on the list to do. And we're going to talk more about that. We're up against a break. But we will talk more about that here when we come back, as well as we are going to answer some of your questions on this Q&A episode. America Out Loud Talk Radio plays on the iHeartRadio network. You can also listen on our media player from any web browser, anywhere in the world. We have the best in-class apps available on Apple, Android, or Alexa, 24/7. Great talk radio. All of our shows go to podcast the following day. You can hear them on apps such as Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeart Podcast, and many more. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show on Apple Podcasts for us. Don't forget to check out our online store at americaoutloud.shop, where you can find all of the products that we represent on our network at a discounted rate. We'll catch you on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
It's time and this is why.
The Wellness Company shares your values and fights for medical freedom. They put patients before profits and follow medical science, not political science like doctors on the left. Their chief medical board, which includes Dr. Peter McCullough, are the makers of the incredible American-made, high-quality Spike formula. If you worry about spike proteins, go to twc.health and use promo code OUTLOUD for an exclusive discount. Once again, that's twc.health, promo code OUTLOUD.
86 million of us suffer from the silent killer, high cholesterol. Left unattended, we are at risk for heart attacks, strokes, and more. Meet HealRight, the ready-to-eat bar that lowers cholesterol naturally in just 8 weeks without the side effects of statins. HealRight isn't just effective, it's delicious in 4 flavors, and it works without diet or lifestyle changes. Go to healright.com/outloud and use code OUTLOUD for 20% off your first order. That's HEALRIGHT.com/outloud, code OUTLOUD for 20% off.
58 million people suffer from joint aches and stiffness in the U.S. every day. Ignoring chronic joint discomfort can affect mobility and your quality of life. Advanced nutrition company Healthy Cell created Joint Health and Mobility to support connective tissue, joint lubrication, and reduce joint irritation with curcumin, omega-3, chondroitin, glucosamine, and hyaluronic acid for joint comfort and flexible range of motion. And Healthy Cell's not a pill. It's a patent-pending gel you swallow with clinically proven ultra-absorption of science-backed ingredients. You would need to take 11 pills to get the same amount of nutrients in each gel pack. And these great-tasting gels come in a small packet. Tear off the top, shoot it down, or mix it in water. It's 100% drug-free joint support. Go to healthycell.com and use code OUTLOUD for 25% off your first order. healthycell.com, code OUTLOUD for 25% off.
I'm so confused. I don't know what to do.
I'm afraid of going to the hospital.
My doctor tells me nutrition doesn't work.
Trust is earned. We are the Energetic Health Institute, and we want to earn your trust. Natural medicine, holistic nutrition, detoxification, fasting, cellular healing, and so much more. Remember, the best way to be free is to be healthy. So stop being a patient and start being a student at energetichealthinstitute.org.
Welcome back to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. Wherever you're listening from today and whatever you're doing, I thank you for giving me the gift of your time. Be sure to make AmericaOutloud.news your daily stop for all the latest news and happenings. We all must do our part and share the stories, the articles, the podcasts, and videos so we can help secure America's future. If you're just joining us, I am here with Nurse Jodi, and we are answering your questions and comments as we do every Friday on this special Q&A episode. So let's jump right back in. Jodi, I will say we haven't answered a single question yet in the first half because we just sometimes when we start talking, we just kind of go off on a tangent.
That's right.
We hope that the listeners enjoy our back and forth commentary with one another, and that you can kind of get a sense that we are kind of just like the rest of you, and
we are. And even what we talked about the first half, that's news, that is really truly answering a lot of questions that we do get about being in the hospital and everything. So so we answer questions.
Yeah, exactly. But a really interesting thing that happened about, I think it was last week, I got this comment was sent to me. It was left in some nursing group on social media. I don't know what site it was left on, but I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Hi, please keep this anonymous." We will sure do that. This is, "I'm a card tele nurse here in Nashville, Tennessee. St. Thomas Ascension in Nashville is under cyber attack. It needs to be talked about. Our systems have been down all day. All the managers left us here to figure it out. We have no orders, access to charts, patient information, or anything. Our cafeteria is basically shut down and patients aren't getting fed. All of the doctors have gone home and have left us with a few NPs or nurse practitioners. It's absolute chaos. There's barely any news on this, and it's extremely unsafe and absolutely insane to make nurses have to deal with all these problems with zero help from management. Happy expletive Nurses Week." So
wow.
Yeah. So here's what happened. So Ascension is a hospital system, kind of similar to HCA type of thing. It's a Christian or Catholic hospital system. Ascension St. Thomas is in Nashville. There's different ones around the country, but so they were a victim of a ransomware breach attack. And so the latest update, this was from just a couple of days ago, says hospital chain making progress amid cyber attack. This was reported by Fox 2. But I'm going to read you a little bit of this. It says Ascension Healthcare Systems is still managing the fallout from a cybersecurity breach that occurred last week. A latest update from the hospital chain confirmed it is making progress, but it had yet to restore access to its systems. This has been going on for several weeks at this point. So it's taken a toll on operations at hospitals in Michigan and around the United States, where patients were left stranded in emergency rooms while nurses and doctors were left unable to access their personal data. Latest update said that they would take a return to normal operations as soon as possible. Systems and services will come back online, and they're going to share those updates with patients in the communities so that they can plan accordingly. So this breach happened on May 8th, and it was later determined that it was a ransomware attack, and it impacted everything from health record systems, patient portals, so you cannot go on and access your records online. Phone systems were impacted.
Wow.
And as far as like timeline for restoration, as of May 15th, with the reporting of this update, there was no timeline for services to be restored.
So they're still down.
They're still down as far as I can tell. As May 15th, I haven't heard anything else about them coming back up. So it's interesting, but there was a time, Jodi, there was a time before the electronic health record was ushered in, a couple decades back, in fact, that we did everything with paper charts, right?
Well, yeah. So I just celebrated 10 years as a nurse, and a couple of, I was working in the hospital as a tech, and we were still paper charting. And so that's only been, and we had paper charts when I started as a nurse, really. So
I remember the card. You remember the card?
Yeah.
That'd be kept at the nurse's station, had all of the, relevant information on all of the patients and basically everything that you would need to know, like at a glance, about that patient. So have we become too reliant on technology that now we don't have any system in place? And let's talk about having a system in place, because there are oftentimes there's what's known as downtime. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Downtime systems?
Yeah, so downtime systems is really just going back to paper charting. And honestly, I can tell you, I love it so much better. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of nurses are like, oh my God, we have to do paper charting. But what happens there is you're really just getting to the crutch of what the patient is there for and what they need. And you're charting on specific, you're more focused on your charting versus, guys, we have to click so many boxes to fulfill like JCO standards and all these
metrics.
Yes. You have to chart. Did you check their pain body position every hour? Like just stupid, busy stuff that's keeping us away from the bedside. So
and you want to know what's funny when you say that, charting the pain part, the 5 Ps and all of that, is that, that gets charted. You can make anything look really good on paper or on your computer, but is it actually happening? It's not.
Well, exactly. No, but nurses will just go in and check it. I mean, I've done it. Every nurse does it, because there's no way that you could do that for every single one of your patients. There's just no way, whatever. We can't get into all of that, but it's busy work. So the paper charting is a paper trail. And it's like, if there's an order, that's on there, it's written into the paper chart. And so I think I mean, for critically thinking nurses like us, like we can handle that. But you got new nurses that
what to do with themselves.
They have no idea, and they're just at a loss. So I'm sure a lot of things get missed. A ton of orders go without being fulfilled. But it is a system in place that there will be, if you have a lab drawn, or you have to have a diagnostic test, it is a paper charting system, and regularly they will go to downtime forms. Typically, this in advance, and they'll tell you, hey, we're going to have downtime on Monday. And then all the nurses that are scheduled for Monday, they're like, I'm working that day,
Yes, yeah.
And they don't want to do it. But, this is a big deal. I mean, people's medical information is out there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild, and all these people wanting to, push forward for electronic, even chips in your body, right? That, they could scan and be like, know your whole health history. I mean, that's dangerous to me. It's scary. It's mark of the beast type agenda to me, that will usher in, the end times, essentially. But yeah, that's a big deal. And the fact that 2 weeks later, practically, they're still down, like that is a absolute disruption in the hospital.
Interesting that it happened during Nurses Week. Right?
They're like, here's a gift for you.
Yeah, exactly. We should have talked about like what's the worst Nurses Week gift you ever got. Those are always funny to do too.
Well, I just received for hospital week. So it was Nurses Week, and then I guess hospital week was last week.
Yeah,
and
they lumped them all together.
Yeah, and I got a cute little satchel of a Post-it note, and one of those pens that have like all the different colors. Remember those?
Oh yeah, the one where you could push down you always try to push them all down at the same time, like who hasn't done that?
Right. Yeah. That was my hospital week gift.
You're dating ourselves.
And a sticker, I think, for my Yeti bottle. I don't know.
I would have loved a Yeti. I mean, that would have been a great gift, right? The Yeti itself would have been great.
Yeah, totally. We didn't get that, but we get fed. We got fed food and all of that, like they love to do to keep us unhealthy.
Exactly. I remember the last Nurses Week that I worked at HCA, and they had like a special Nurses Week meal. And I guess I should have just been happy that they had something for night shift, because they typically don't. The cafeteria was never open for night shift, but they opened it for our Nurses Week meal. And it was interesting because it was like a hamburger. I was like, they wouldn't even give me like a slice of cheese on it. Or there were no condiments. I couldn't even get ketchup on it. I was like, this is a patty.
Shut up.
I was like, this is just awful. I was like, can I get a slice of cheese on my burger? Literally just a patty in the bread. Like there were no condiments out for us, nothing. No onions, no pickles. I mean, nothing. It was no 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, none of that.
That reminds me of that commercial, Where's the Beef?
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. I have plenty of beef, but nothing else, plenty of beef, nothing else. And of course I'm just like shaking my head, thinking, wow. Okay.
Oh, comical.
So yeah, so interesting, but there's no love lost between me and Ascension St. Thomas. I will tell you that that's actually the first hospital that I went and started protesting at as part of Nurse Freedom Network, because that was one of the first hospital systems that started firing their nurses over the vaccine mandate. So
yeah. Yeah, well, it's interesting, all these lawsuits. I just had somebody pop into my feed and say that one of their nurse friends was wrongfully terminated for not getting the experimental mRNA injection. And she just won her she won her lawsuit. And I, said, we'll send an email to nurses@americaoutloud.com and let's highlight that story, because there's a lot happening, with truth. It takes time, guys. But there's been a lot of people out there fighting, and these lawsuits are finally making their way forward. I mean, mine is case in point, right? I filed in December of 2021, and going through this entire process of different, the Office of Special Counsel, MSPB, Merit System Protection Boards, like, and finally, my case is being heard here pretty soon. So, that's essentially, 3 years later. So truth is coming. Truth is coming, and it is going to hit people, I think, upside their head, and really understand like what happened to them and what was imposed on them. I mean, you even have, our news anchors, right? Like Chris Cuomo from the CNN talking head that came out, and I'm going to talk about that on my show next week. But, he's like, oh yeah, I take ivermectin. We were given bad information, and I'm just like cussing up a storm in my body, like, you whatever.
And did you see Bill Maher's, monologue, the scathing monologue that he did, saying we were given all of this wrong information, and all of the conspiracy theorists were right all along, and it's just absolute insanity. But I just want to say, Jodi, thank God for people like you who have had the courage and the stamina, to proceed with these types of lawsuits, because they are, I tend to stay away from them for just personally, because they're so draining. They're draining financially, they're draining emotionally, and it's a lot. So thank you, because change happens because of people like you who will have the courage to stick your neck out there for not just yourself, but for all of us. And that's how change and precedent is set. So
that's exactly right.
I want to thank you. I don't have the stamina to do it myself.
Well, no, I appreciate you. I thank you for saying that. But it has been, it's taken a toll on me physically. Absolutely. Spiritually, I have heightened because, I was guided in love and light and truth. But yeah, I mean, it has taken a lot, and it is hundreds of thousands of dollars, guys. Like it's a lot of money, but whatever, what's money? Who cares? Look, God gave me a job that I could work and pay my bills, and we could still fight it. God gave me my attorney, Mike Yoder, who has the same heart of a lion that I do. And he's not getting rich on this. Like I hope that, we could get paid back. But when I released my story, I had, my oldest son set up a give, send, go. And if it wasn't for the generosity of Americans, I never would have been able to fight this. I never would have been able to. So that's in large part to you guys too, supporting people that are speaking up, that are standing out. Those $5 donations, $20 donations really added up. I mean, it's what's keeping Remnant going right now. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, guys, like really, support those people that are speaking out. And you can support us here on Nurses Out Loud by sharing our shows, liking our shows, reviewing our shows on the platforms that you're listening to us on, because that, gets the ball rolling. You can't stop a snowball from running down. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And, we do get to that point where we're just feeling tired. We've been going at this it's like 4 years now. I can't even believe it's been 4 years that we've been out here, that we've been speaking up, that we've been speaking out. Sometimes I have days, Jodi, I'm sure you have them too, where you're like, is it even worth it? Are we even making a difference? I mean, I have days when I just want to cry, and I just am like, oh my God, I just want to go back to my very peaceful, drama-free life. I was loving life back in like 2018, 2019, when I was just able to live my passion for nursing every shift, and then enjoying, those 4 days off and doing my hobbies, my music. Many of you know I play the saxophone, or I used to, and painting, and just all of these different things, going on trips, going out, with for lunch and dinner with friends and family, just a really drama-free, very low-key life. And I miss it. I miss it.
I know. I was just talking about it with Benjamin and my kids. I'm like, they're like, Mom, you don't do anything. And I was like, I know, and those days that you're speaking of, those days have been filled with Uber Eats for me.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I thinking about what I'm eating for dinner at breakfast, and I'm just like, I'm just going to eat my feelings.
Exactly.
And that enough
a little bit of weight through this.
Well, enough is enough. I mean, I'm done. I'm turning 50 in November, and I'm done. And, God is going to move on this case the way he sees fit. And, there's an end in sight. I just hope that after the hearing, we get a ruling right away. But regardless, I don't care. Like, I give that all up to God. It's like, okay, Lord, I'm doing this. I'm doing what you told me to do. And this is in your hands to see what you make of it. But, his promises are real and they are enduring. And every single thing and scripture that I have just laid on my heart, it has come true. And it's not to say that we don't still feel worldly things, because that's how the enemy attacks us. The enemy and that spirit of, gluttony, if you will, like that's a spirit that has had a hold over me, and no longer. I mean, I broke that, and it's only up from here. So yeah, thank you for that, Kimberly. I appreciate that.
Of course. Yeah. Like I said, we all have days when we just feel like, we can't go on any longer. And like Jodi was saying, for those of you, we get this compliment. I'm sure you get it as much as I do. Thank you so much for speaking out. I wish I could, but I have bills to pay. I have a mortgage. We have all of those things as well. But we spoke out anyway. And I understand that not everybody is in a position to do that. Not everybody feels comfortable or confident enough to do that. And if you can't speak out, it's okay. But, please support those of us who are and who have given up everything to be able to be a voice for our patients, for ourselves, for other healthcare workers, and support the efforts of the Truth Movement, support the efforts of Remnant Healthcare, of Melissa's group, Functional Nurse Academy, all of us working really, really hard in this space to make a difference and a brighter future for both nurses and patients alike. We were going to talk about a little bit about Remnant Nursing Program, but we're running out of time because we just talk so much.
We have to do a show.
I'm going to actually do a whole show about this. So I'm going to read the question really quickly, and then I'm going to let you know that we are going to record an entire episode about this. But the question here is, hi, Jodi, Michelle, and Kimberly. Is it possible that you could do a program regarding the specifics of the Remnant Nursing Program? Such thing as cost of hours that need to be purchased when a nurse advocate is needed, where are the advocate nurses assigned from? Do hospitals allow outside nurses in their hospital? How soon can they be assigned? How long can they stay with the patient? She knows that the membership fee is $30 a month, but wanted to know more about the specific advocacy program. She goes on to say, I enjoy your program so much, and I'm so appreciative of the information and personal stories of some of your guests. You are all doing a great service, and I listen to your program every night in the 11 p.m. time slot. Thank you, lady, from my home state of Massachusetts. So thank you, Lainey, so much for your email, for your question. We are going to dedicate an entire episode with some of the Remnant nurses. I've decided to bring on some of the advocates and Remnant nurses on the show with me, as well as my director of operations, to answer all of your questions. But I just wanted to thank you for your comments and your interest in what we're doing, and know that in the coming weeks, you will get an episode entirely dedicated to your email. So thank you again. We're running out of time. I wish we could talk about so much more, but we are coming to the end of it, friend.
Well, yeah, I loved it. You guys, what you got today was how Kimberly and I speak to each other naturally.
Yes.
And, it's really about being authentic and speaking the truth, and no matter what that is, that is That is what we're called to do. We are called to be lights unto this world and to occupy until he returns. And you see how much evil has been exposed. I just don't want you to operate in fear. I mean, I still live in my apartment, my 1,000 square foot apartment, okay, because money never drove me. I never was like, oh, I have to have this, I have to have that. And granted, yes, I'm going to be 50 years old and, people can look and say like, oh, what do you own? And I'm like, okay, well, I own my truck outright. You know what I'm saying? But that's about it. I don't have a whole lot, but what do you really need?
Exactly.
I mean, sit there and think about that. What do you need? You need good friends like Kimberly, right? Yes. Have I lost friendships? Absolutely. But I've gained so much more. And, just stop living in that place of fear and less than, stop.
Right. Yeah, we
Stop
have to go
right
to that
now.
mindset of abundance and, because we're in abundance, even if we don't, like you said, we may own very little, but we are abundant in love and in peace and fellowship with one another. And when I think about all of the nightmare that COVID was, I was saying this the other day, without COVID, we wouldn't even know each other, Jodi. I wouldn't have met so many of these amazing people. I wouldn't have met Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Richard Urso, so many of these heroes in the fight, right? We would not even know each other. Our paths never would have crossed.
Nope.
The thought of that breaks my heart to think that. So you know what? I would go through 2020 over and over again for the connection that I have found with each and every one of you in this fight.
Amen, sis. Amen. Yes, absolutely. Like, we need to really submit to God's will. Stop living in your will. And he knows your heart. He knows my heart. He knows Kimberly's heart. And he also tells us that he will never give us more than we can handle. And if there is a fire we need to go through, he is there with us. So take solace in that and understand that we are here for his purposes, for his will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. Amen.
Amen, sis. Well, that's it for us. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Q&A with the nurses. We hope you've enjoyed your time here with myself and Nurse Jodi. But that is all the time that we have for today, friends. But remember, we are here on the air 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can also catch the encore at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please be sure to tune in and listen to myself and my amazing sister nurses. As we walk you through all of these hot topics, we will empower you with information and education. We will advocate and we will stand in the gap for you because we are nurses and this is what we do. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. You can find me here every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until next time, be safe, be well, and God bless. And remember that we are in a war for truth. We are putting out a bounty on the real misinformation and exposing the purveyors of propaganda. No topic is off limits as we shine our lights and expose the darkness.
It's time